Water transportation is one of the dominant lifestyles in the Niger Delta for people who travel by water. It is expected that precautionary measures be taken as both mishaps, especially along the riverine communities, are common occurrences. Only recently, a passenger boat reportedly left Nembe Bayelsa State for Port Harcourt with over 20 jackets. It took the rescue effort of personnel of the Nigerian Navy and other agencies to avert what would have been a tragedy. How to put an end to this is our focus on Panorama from Port Harcourt Network Center. I am Dibabari Siedoma Winke. Welcome to the program. The African Association of Automotive Manufacturers and Nigerian Automotive Manufacturers Association, led by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoka Anite, on Friday paid a courtesy visit to President Bola Tinubu. The delegation, which was received by the Chief of Staff to the President, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, thanked the host for finding time to receive them and pledged their commitment to the renewed hope agenda of the President. The delegation consisted of the Director General of the National Automotive Design and Development Council, representatives of the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, as well as executive directors of Stallion Group, Toyota CEO, and Nissan. According to the spokesperson of one of the associations, the purpose of the visit was to appraise President Tinubu of the efforts being made to start manufacturing vehicles spare parts in Nigeria. They informed the Chief of Staff to the President that a legislative bill to drive the automotive industry was being drafted and received by the Federal Ministry of Justice. They emphasized the need to develop the industry, which would create massive employment for Nigerian youths and ease the burden on the much-needed foreign exchange. The Chief of Staff to the President, while thanking the delegation for the visit, assured them of the President's commitment to Nigeria's industrialization as evidenced by all of the policies being implemented under his administration. He promised to assist in facilitating the speedy passage of the legislative bill. He, however, implored that locally manufactured vehicles should be of the highest quality that will stand the test of time and complement the federal government's effort in revitalizing the industry. He also urged the associations to look into producing vehicles that will be affordable for all categories of Nigerians at a time when President Bola Tinubu is set to provide consumers credit for millions of Nigerians to purchase vehicles and other important goods and services. In line with the Electricity Act 2023, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has unbundled the transmission company of Nigeria TCN and established the Nigerian Independent System Operator of Nigeria Limited. The order released by NEC states that TCN is to transfer all market and system operation functions to the newly established NISO not later than 31st August 2024. The order directs the Bureau of Public Enterprises to incorporate a private company limited by shares under the Companies and Allied Matters Act by May 2031. NEC outlines NISO's responsibilities to include managing assets and liabilities related to market and system operation on behalf of market participants and consumer groups. The new independent system operator will also negotiate contracts for ancillary services with independent power producers and generation licenses, in addition to performing market and system operation functions for the benefit of market participants and system users. Before the unbundling, TCN held transmission service provider and system operation. The federal government has pledged its unwavering commitment to protecting the rights of journalists and ensuring their safety and security, as well as unfettered access to encourage the Nigerian media to grow in leaps and bounds. This is from the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, during a press briefing to commemorate the year 2024 World Press Freedom Day in Abuja. Salihu Wanara reports.
The theme of this year's commemoration of the World Press Freedom Day is a press for the planet, journalism in the face of the environmental crisis. This is the reason for the presence of Ishaku Salako, Minister of State Environment, joining the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris. In line with the global campaign to save the environment, stakeholders and experts are looking inward and diversifying search for solutions. Journalists are therefore identified as the right people needed to join efforts to mitigate the menace of environmental challenges.
Without a free and independent press, we cannot hope to address the complex environmental challenges that we face. Disinformation and misinformation undermine public understanding of environmental issues and hinder our ability to take meaningful action. Therefore, we must staunchly defend press freedom and support the work of journalists who are dedicated to reporting the truth.
We are not paying attention to what's going on. We are not getting concerned about the logging in our forests. I come from a rainforest region in the southwest, and I say when I go around and I don't see the trees anymore. They've been logged, they've been cut off, and nobody is talking about how do we replace those trees.
This was an opportunity for the Minister of Information and National Orientation to reiterate the federal government's commitment to promote and defend responsible journalism.
You cannot tear your country apart just because you want to talk about press freedom. We have been talking about FDI's foreign direct investment into this country. You cannot have your newspapers and radio stations flashing about insecurity all the time, about things that are not palatable, and expect people from other climes to come and invest in this country.
World Press Freedom Day is celebrated globally to, among others, highlight the pivotal role of the essential service providers. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
The latest incident of boat mishap along the Bayelsa River State waterways brings to the fore the need for strict enforcement of regulatory standards for maritime operations, especially for internal boat operators within the inland waterways. This is the position of stakeholders on the heels of the latest development. Kingsley Amaji reports.
The latest boat mishap involving a locally fabricated passenger boat conveying traders from Sangana in Bayelsa State to Nembe Waterside in Port Harcourt raises issues of safety and need for enforcement of standards in the maritime sector.
Almost all of them do not wear life jackets, and we have been hammering on this, that they must wear life jackets while transiting in the waters from the jetty to another jetty.
The mishap, partly attributed to have been caused by a barge wreck, further increases stakeholders' worry on the dangers of wrecks to smooth operations on the nation's maritime sector.
The wind and the tide was very strong, so the tide and the wind pushed the boat to that wrecking barge that under the water. The boat could not be able to go away from the iron, so the sharp side of the barge is the one that pierced under the boat, and from there water started coming.
Keen observers want the regulatory agencies to enforce the standard operating procedures before the takeoff of boats, while certification of boat operators becomes necessary condition.
We have people that those drivers, are they certified by government? Do we have officials who can save this, check them in the sea? Like you stop here, you birth here, can we check your documents to confirm that you are a certified driver?
Government need to come out with a policy that will be easier for them to enforce. And those liable for this enforcement should take it all out, because this is human life.
On the issue of ungoverned maritime space, proponents want effective policing of the jetties and enforcement of rules. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
With me in the studio to speak on this is the Executive Director, Environmental Advocacy Center, Five-Face Dumnamene. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you. Looking at the report we just did now, talking about boat mishap, how would you describe the action of a boat driver and over 200 passengers who embarked on the journey without life jackets?
I think the action of the boat driver is condemnable. That is recklessness on his part. And for passengers to also allow themselves to be ferried in a boat without life jackets is also not something that anybody could support. Because just last week or two, we heard about the boat mishap at the River Niger that made us to lose, a prominent actor in the Nigerian movie industry. So people should learn from what happened, and the drivers of this boat must put in place certain measures that will ensure that they ferry passengers in safety, because if they fail to ensure their safety and something like this happens and they die, who are they going to carry when next they want to also ply the waterway? So they need to be able to take steps. The passengers should also help themselves by making sure that safety measures are put in place by the boat owners before they ply the boat. Otherwise, failure to do so will always endanger their lives. If not the intervention of the Navy, the security operatives at this point in time, we would have heard another very bad story. Water transportation is one of the oldest model of transportation that we have. We ought to have been able to develop it and have measures that will be able to save the lives of people. And again, this thing happened in River State. This is River State, as the name implies. We are surrounded by water. We should be able to set the record and the model for others to follow in relation to what has to do with the safety on our waterways.
Thank you. Apart from the human safety, what happens to overloading? Because sometimes what they carry is even almost like more than the human beings they carry. So apart from talking about life jackets and all that, the rate of overloading in any boat with passengers, what can you say about that?
Yeah, what I have to say about that is that the passengers should also be sure that the boat they are about to enter is not overloaded. And the driver should also make sure that they don't overload the boat. But sometimes they are after money. Considering the cost of diesel they use to run this boat now, they will want to load more so that they can have more money to be able to compensate for the cost of diesel they have bought. But then the authorities and the regulators come in here to ensuring that whatever boat is being loaded is not overloaded, and all the safety measures put in place before they allow them to move. And I think even the health of the boat also needs to be checked. Some of these boats are very old. Engines are also bad. Sometimes they get to the middle of the river and you don't see it working anymore. They need to put some of these measures in place. I think the River State government should go in and try as much as they can to address this. Other state governments in the Niger Delta should also do it. In those days, we do believe that it's only in the Niger Delta you have water. But today we are having both mishap in Nasarawa and other states of the Federation. Even in Abuja, this is happening. So we need to put in place measures that will ensure the safety of persons on the waterways.
Okay, apart from the nation government now looking into all this, what happens to the boat operators, people that are in charge of the waterfronts that,
The boat operators are operating on their own. Properly regulated. The government is only concerned about building the jetty and they go away. They don't check who brings boat to come and ferry people. And I think that they need to look into the issue of regulating their activities. Training and retraining is also very key. Checking the health of the boat itself, the engine they are using to ply the boat, ensuring that there is life jacket in all the boats, and the life jacket checking to be sure that it has not expired. All the measures must be put in place. In fact, they should also try to check the sites of those who are flying these boats so that we are sure that they can.
Our sincere apologies. We couldn't continue with Port Harcourt due to poor audio quality. And we now continue the program in Abuja. The Adamawa state government has confirmed the death of 42 persons as a result of outbreak of measles in Mubi and Gombe local government areas of the state. The Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Felix Tangwame, disclosed this to newsmen in Yola. Yusuf Jika reports.
To Commissioner of Health and Human Services Adamawa State, Felix Tangwame, the outbreak has affected 8 wards in Mubi North and 7 wards in Gombe local government areas of the state, with the death toll of 42 out of the 131 and 177 affected persons, respectively. He said, with the quick intervention of government in collaboration with some partners, the situation was brought under control.
The report so far is very encouraging. There are no further deaths. Measles vaccines have been released to those areas, and our teams in the field are already containing the situation.
He advised people to ensure environmental and personal hygiene as some of the precautionary measures against the dreaded disease. In Yola, Yusuf Jika, NTA News.
The Anambra State government has begun the distribution of assorted food items received from the federal government for vulnerable people in the state. It is to cushion the effect of the high cost of living in the country. Joy Iloegbu has details.
Items approved by President Bola Tinubu for release to vulnerable persons in the state include 819 metric tons of maize and 98.7 metric tons of gari from the National Strategic Reserve. This is in fulfillment of the President's promise to reduce the impact of the current economic downturn being experienced in the country in line with the Renewed Hope agenda.
By the authority of the DG NEMA, Zubaida Omar, I hand over these relief materials to you. The Anambra State government had a template where they shared the items equally to every community, and that is what we want, because those items will reach the people they were meant for.
This act of generosity and compassion underscores the unwavering commitment of our nation's leadership to the well-being of the citizens, particularly during the time of this hardship and inflation.
The food items are to be distributed equally to the 21 local government areas in the state, with 20% of what each local government gets going to religious organizations and 3% to boarding schools in the areas, as directed by the President.
Permit me here to convey the gratitude of Anambra State government to Mr. President and the Director General NEMA for their continued support to the state. A 16-man distribution committee has been set up in each local government area of Anambra State for a seamless distribution exercise.
The distribution exercise kicked off with 4 local governments, Awka North and South, Njikoka and Dunukofia. In Awka, Joy Iloegbu, NTA News.
Nigeria has set out new action plans to intensify efforts at eliminating malaria in the country and Africa as a whole. The decision is an outcome of the Ministerial Roundtable on Rethink Malaria Elimination in Nigeria. Uche Ugochukwu reports.
It started with these groups of experts on malaria elimination drawn from across board, suggesting various strategies.
It's going to be ambitious.
Their submissions include usage of data to drive decision-making in malaria elimination, political will, taking ownership of the fight, local manufacturing of medicines, and use of One Health approach, among others.
The next thing is really looking at malaria not from a health perspective alone.
Malaria vaccine, like many other vaccines, is a very important tool.
Running through the health insurance system and the various states through national health insurance, we felt that this should be appropriated. In our role in appropriation, in our role in oversight and representation, we felt it very important that we should have this activated in the budget for the first time.
Nigeria, desirous of changing the narrative of needless morbidity and mortality from malaria, embarked on the Rethink Malaria Elimination Initiative, which aims to re-evaluate its decades-long approaches that have left it with 27% of the global burden of the disease.
We have to go back and retool, redial, rejig, and redirect and refocus our efforts in a different way that will lead our country to on the path of malaria elimination and not malaria maintenance.
We will be bold in innovating in delivery within our context, but also consider innovative financing mechanisms that can mobilize better domestic resources.
We assure you of WHO's steadfast support for the sector-wide approach, and we're committed to working with partners to ensure financial assistance is aligned with national policies and priorities.
The call to action is expected to accelerate the elimination of the disease in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa at large. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Governor Basi Otu of Cross River State has promised to support the National Population Commission to deliver on its mandates, identifying accurate data collection as key to formulation of policies that will fast-track development, thereby enhancing the welfare of citizens. The governor said this when the Federal Commissioner, National Population Commission, Cross River State, Alex Ukam, visited him. Justina Etim completes the story.
The role of government is to ensure social well-being of citizens through strategic planning and execution of policies that will promote secured and prosperous society. But this task cannot be achieved without reliable data census. The National Population Commission, saddled with the task of data collection, is engaging and informing the Cross River State Governor on activities of the Commission in preparation for the forthcoming digital national population and housing census, while disclosing constraints faced by the Commission.
Solving data, Your Excellency, has to do with a data that has to do with every family, what is the status, the health status of members of that family. And these are the areas that even the UNICEF, because of partnering with the Commission, they are so much interested. They want to do. The Commission hereby appeal to you, Your Excellency, and the state government to support the NBC in fostering a sustainable and effective census and birth registration system in the states.
Governor too assured to give the Commission the needed support to ease its operations in the states.
Because of other considerations, it's been difficult to actually get the adult census very straightforward. But I think in terms of birth rates, if we concentrate on this, because this is what the development partners and the multilateral agencies are very, very interested in. I think if we can work that part very well, we must have achieved to certain points.
The National Population Commission is charged with the mandate of registering births, deaths, marriages, and other vital statistics pertaining to individual life and mortality. In Calabar, Justina Etam, NTA News.
Let's now join our sports desk for the latest in the world of sports. As Panorama today, many thanks for joining us. I am Ogoch Kuka. Honor.